This week on VolleyDons Weekly, starring head coach Ryan Perrotte. We'll talk about our win streak we have started here with our 2 wins against George Mason and NJIT at home on Arnie Ball Court. Then we'll visit with sophomore middle blocker Graydon Schroeder. We'll talk a little bit about his IPFW experiences and what's coming up the rest of the season. We'll finish up with talking with Ryan Perrotte about the upcoming matches this weekend against McKendree and Ohio State to open conference play. All that and more on VolleyDons Weekly. Stay tuned. Welcome to this week's edition of VolleyDons Weekly. I'm your host and assistant coach JW Kieckhefer. With me is head coach Ryan Perrotte. A quick thank you to our sponsors, Alco, Active Ankle, ASICS, Glenbrook Dodge, and the Hyatt Place. Coach Perrotte, welcome to your show. Welcome to your show, VolleyDons Weekly, starring Ryan Perrotte. You get mad at me as I keep saying your name, but I feel like you want your name to be said. It's starring you. The show's about you. You know, there you go.
It's casual taping day today.
What do you mean by casual?
It's casual taping day today.
What does that mean?
See, my mother was on my mind today, so I wore my
it's casual.
My homeland Grenada in the West
it.
Indies thing. Yeah, it's my animal watch, my brand new watch that I have
You're
on.
gonna squeeze all those in the
chapstick that I have in my pocket. Yeah, so it's great.
Let's talk about some amazing results for this young volleyball team this weekend. We started off the weekend.
How many times are we going to be young? Every week
we're young. What do you mean?
Young.
How would you say we're not young?
You like to use young. I like to use inexperienced.
Are they not synonymous?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Yeah, elaborate for the people who are watching, just because I think they're synonymous. So obviously there's going to be some people out there who would agree with
young,
maybe not many, but some.
Young deals with age.
Okay.
But you can say any college individual playing anything, any sport is young. They're younger than I am.
Relative to some teams that are starting
you
juniors
don't disclaim it as such. You don't disclaim. I'm just telling you, I prefer inexperience. And during this win streak, this 3-match win streak that we have, by the way, experience is starting to show with some of our players.
And who would that be, by the way? Just to name a couple.
Michael Keegan, for one, our setter. I think he's done a really great job the last 2 weeks in regards to running our offense and showing some really good on-court leadership. Pellegrin Vargas has really come into his own as a volleyball player. People are so excited to watch him play, and the things that he can do with the volleyball, I think, is tremendous. Richie Dietrich in the middle out of Florida, I think. And he's only been playing the game for about 3 years, so his development curve continues to grow and grow and grow, and he's really showing some excitement playing the middle position. And Graydon Schroeder, even though he was here last year, Graydon didn't see a lot of playing action, at least the second half of the season, and he has probably been, to be quite honest with you, our best player up until this point and through our 3-match win streak.
I think he's been, for sure, our most consistent player. I'm not sure if best, if you want to throw that in there or not, but he's been the most consistent in the standpoint of his hitting percentage has been relatively high most of the time. He's blocked a bunch of balls for most of our matches. We've just needed people to kind of play with him.
Hitting, blocking, best player. So that's a great.
We talk about this all the time. In terms of best player, when a player's only on the floor for 3 rotations, can they be the best player? Can they be the most valuable player?
Absolutely correct. See, this is we talk about this all the time. Of course, with the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday, who's the greatest of all time? The greatest quarterback? Is it Brady? Is it all this? That's a bunch of nonsense, to be quite honest with you. You can have an individual have an impact, even if it's so short. I say this last year with the NHL. Carey Price gets injured November the 29th on my birthday. Doesn't play out another game for the rest of the year. Montreal, which was the best team in hockey, doesn't win a game for the rest of the year. He's the most valuable, even though he didn't play. Isn't that amazing?
It is just amazing, but I hear what you're saying. So the first match this weekend on Friday, we had a 3-set win against the number one ranked team in the EIVA. They're picked to win the EIVA. The 12th ranked team in the nation, George Mason, coming into our home floor at Arnie Ball Court. Boy, was that a match for the inexperienced VolleyDons, really showing what they can do and what we can do moving forward here into the conference season. Some really good volleyball.
It was far and away the best volleyball match we've played all year in every facet of the game. We served well, we blocked well. I mean, we had 14 and a half blocks for the match, 8 in the opening set alone. Our offense sizzled, hitting over 300. We played unbelievable backcourt defense, especially led by Scott McNerney, our redshirt senior, who I inserted into the starting lineup as a libero. We played as good as a volleyball match as we possibly could have played against a very quality, top-notch opponent in George Mason. And it was really interesting to watch our team almost come of age, if you will. I think you go through streaks during the course of the season where a match defines you. That match against George Mason could have been the match that defines us in terms of our growth to get out of that youth or inexperience to get to the next level.
And George Mason's a team that has not a lot of youth on the floor. They start a lot of juniors and seniors, one sophomore, I believe, but they're playing some old, experienced guys who've been there, done that, went to the Final Six, if you want to call it now, in men's volleyball last year, and have a lot of their players returning. Their best players all returned from that team. So it was a huge win, I think, for our volleyball team to step up to the challenge of a team that brings, like George Mason, the height, the physicality they bring, and to also step over the edge and win a couple sets. I think we won 25-13, 25-18, 25-17. So really controlled that match from start to finish.
We really dictated play, which I think is very important when it comes to volleyball, or any sport for that matter. But we really dictated play. But number two is the fact that it was a total team effort. It really was. Mm-hmm. From number one all the way to the guys that came in off the bench as subs who contributed to our team. And that's all you can ask for as a volleyball coach, to take a look at all the work that you put in the week in terms of preparation, and then to go out and execute the game plan was amazing. And we made that one subtle adjustment at the beginning to start committing in the middle. Other than that, that was the only adjustment we made, and the guys really, really showed their stuff.
And I think we were a little bit sloppier moving forward in the NJIT match, but still got the win in 3 sets. Talk a little bit about that match and kind of the things you saw there.
Well, and it's hard to obviously maintain such a high level as we did on Friday, but the match against NJIT, I mean, we played well, and we showed some resiliency, at least in that opening set. We got behind a little bit early. We did not serve particularly well on Saturday night as we did Friday night against George Mason, but our backcourt defense was really, really stellar, and our transition game, which had been sketchy up until the George Mason match, really clicked for us, and I thought that was really key for us. Also, we got big-time performances again from some people. I thought Graydon Schroeder played really well. I thought Michael Keegan did an unbelievable job. Pellegrin Vargas was stellar. And Scott McNerney was great again. He ended up winning the MIVA Co-Defensive Player of the Week this past week with the libero from Ball State University. This was Scott's first time winning the award. And he's played in, I believe he started 4 matches for us. We've won 3 out of the 4 matches he's played.
Yeah, he's come in and really been a leader for our volleyball team and kind of been the spark. We talked about trying to find a leader. Scott McNerney, and we had him on the show earlier, was definitely that for our volleyball team this last weekend, and somebody that really has brought something different to our volleyball team, the starting lineup.
He has a different character. He brings so much energy and enthusiasm to the court.
He really does. And coming up next, we'll talk to another one of our high-level players, Graydon Schroeder, a sophomore middle blocker. Come on back.
My areas of research focus on the intersection of epistemology and medical ethics. I'm primarily interested in clinical decision making. One way to characterize my work is that I'm curious how decisions go wrong in medicine, both for the physician and for the patient, and even for the policymaker. Then I also do some work in research ethics. How does one respect a patient or research subject while still trying to find robust conclusions that can guide future medical practice?
Welcome back to VolleyDons Weekly. With me here, we have Graydon Schroeder, a sophomore middle blocker from Brookfield, Wisconsin. Brookfield East High School, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep, that's right.
Back home, and I'm from Wisconsin as well, so Graydon and I have some awesome conversations about the Green Bay Packers and how sad we were after they lost. Unfortunately,
how good the cheese is.
Yeah, how good the cheese is. Unfortunately, the Packers played while we were playing against Alderson Broaddus in the NFC Championship game. So we got onto the bus after like a 17-0 or like 27-0 lead by Atlanta.
It wasn't pretty, whatever it was. I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, we were very sad by the time we heard what the score was.
Yeah.
So Graydon, talk a little bit about the last weekend against NJIT and George Mason.
Well, it felt good to get back out there, get some wins, especially on the home court. It's been a while, obviously, since we've gotten to do that. I think when we played George Mason, number 12, we were super energetic and ready to go. I feel like we had a good week of practice, and we came out and we were just on fire. Our offense was awesome. Our passing was great. So and then we kind of rolled over a little bit on Saturday. We didn't come out with quite the same energy, but enough to get the win, and now we're up to 3 in a row, and we've got a big weekend this weekend coming up.
What do you think was the difference between maybe the couple matches on the East Coast, the Harvard Sacred Heart matches, and possibly the matches that we had this weekend at home? Do you think it's just the home vibe? Do you think it has something to do with Scott being in the starting lineup, as he was probably the only change we had made from those two matches? What do you think?
Yeah, I think Scott definitely helped. He brings like an energy that's obviously unmatched by anybody else on the team. So just a positive vibe, and obviously he won an award this week, so that's awesome for him too. I think when we were out east, we had just some problems with our passing, and if we can get the ball like to Michael in the system all the time, and I think we'll be able to keep our offense running at a high caliber like it is right now, and maybe have a good shot this weekend.
And set you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hopefully.
Graydon plays middle for us, so all you volleyball fans out there know that when you don't pass the ball on top of the setter, when that pass gets behind the 10-foot line, that unfortunately we can't run the middle attack as often as we'd like. And Graydon has been a really big part of our offense throughout this season, and even was last year before he got injured in the middle. Something that we've really pushed to use a lot. Do you think that's been a little bit of a difference too? We were able to use the middle and actually being really effective out of it. Richie hit like 700 in that first match and then hit 400, and I think you were around that 500 clip both nights. So do you think that's been a big thing for our offense, is the middle of the floor?
Yeah, I think so too. I think, and obviously that's all credit to our passers for getting the ball to Michael. I mean, if we can get the ball, and like as the middle, we open up so many more options for the rest of the team. So if we can do our job and get the other team's middles to track us, and that opens up the pins and the BIC for the outsides and the right sides. So I think that if we can keep passing the ball and just running our offense, we're going to be successful.
Talk a little bit about being an undersized middle at this level, right? 6'4", really good jump, get off the floor really quickly. Something that we had the pleasure of with Ramon Burgos when he was back here as well, maybe a little undersized, but the speed of his arm and the speed of his feet made up for that. Talk about some of the difficulties you may have going up against the 6'8", 6'9" blockers in the MIVA and across the nation.
Sure. Well, obviously, when we played Irvine, I was up against Scott Static, who's 7 foot tall, and he's a freshman. He's younger than me, and I grew up playing against him, of course. But obviously, like, I take it as a personal challenge. Even though they're taller than I am, I probably jump better than they do. So I always just try and try to level the playing field. And I think that in terms of going up against them, like playing defense, I just try and get my hands in the right spot and get a good touch, if that's all I can do. So I just really try and work hard and do what I can do to help the team.
I thought both our middle blockers, and you especially, did a really good job of closing to the pin, making some really good blocking moves when you're up there with our pin blockers, and that was a really big difference for our defense in that match. And it allowed Scott McNerney and Pellegrin Vargas and Colton Stone to dig a ton of balls and dig some easy volleyballs, balls that weren't necessarily blocked to the floor, but were block touched into the middle back zone. Do you think we did a better job of that this weekend, and why do you think we did a better job of that this weekend?
Absolutely. I think this weekend we were really successful, at least Richie and I, moving laterally to close to the pins. That's a credit to, I think Coach Rock was teaching us blocking this week about our hand positions and being more, fluid with our motions, keeping our weight on the right foot. And then also credit to our pin blockers for setting the block up inside, and then therefore kind of like making it easier for our defenders to play behind the block like that.
Yeah, I think that's it. And we call you guys middle blockers or middle hitters, and I think Coach Rock only exclusively calls it the middle blocking position because of how prevalent that is for those players to play. The blocking is such a big strategy of it. You don't always get to hit, right? The passing is not great. You don't get to hit, and the blocking is more a primary option for you guys. Is it frustrating, some of those matches earlier on, and maybe the first 8 matches, if you will, we weren't winning a ton of matches or a ton of sets even. Was it frustrating for you? Maybe the passing wasn't great. How frustrating is that for a middle attacker, knowing you're probably not going to get set because we're not passing the ball too well?
Right. Yeah, it's frustrating, especially a couple of like the later matches in California, I think, was when I was the most frustrated. But at that point, we just have to accept that we have to do our job at the net and block the balls instead. Even if our passing isn't there, we still have to be up in transition and trying to draw the other team's blockers away from our pins, like I mentioned earlier. But I think that it's not necessarily like a bad thing. It is a bad thing. Like we should be passing the ball, but we need to like be like separate from that on the defensive side and just block the ball.
Yeah, if you're not doing one thing well, if you can't do one thing well because you're not getting the ball,
Right.
you can always do something even better. And maybe by focusing on that one thing, because that's more of what you're doing, then maybe hopefully that gets better and you can help your team in that respect. I think that's something that it's really tough for volleyball players to do, right? Because they want to do the offensive side of the game. They want to look good. But you got to play both sides of the ball, and when you're not doing something specifically well in one situation, you have to revert your energy maybe to a different part of the game.
Absolutely.
So Graydon is one of our business majors here on campus. Talk a little bit about IPFW and why you chose IPFW and the business major here.
Sure. Well, business has always been kind of like part of my family. My grandpa was business, my dad's business, my mom's business. So everybody's I grew up in that environment. And it's something that I've always wanted to do and kind of the career path that I've chosen. I kind of chose to come here because I was going to get an Indiana business degree and at the same time be able to pursue volleyball as well. So that was a major key for me.
Yeah, and the Big Ten degree coming with the MIVA volleyball. This is a really big pull, I think, for a lot of our student athletes who play here. And then your second major, your double majoring, is Spanish. And I know we have a bunch of Puerto Ricans, and our culture has really been very Puerto Rican heavy. We always have a bunch of Puerto Ricans in our gym. Talk a little bit about that and kind of the unique relationship you can have with a lot of the Puerto Ricans we have here.
Yeah, it's fun because I understand what they're saying. I might not be able to like speak as well as they can, but I can understand what they're saying and talking about. And it's kind of fun to hear what they talk about because most of them, they don't think that anybody else is listening or understanding. And it's fun to be able to communicate with them in a different way, to talk about something. Sometimes Pele struggles with his English sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes. And I'll just try my best to help him out a little bit in Spanish, to the best of my ability, of course. It's not very good, but I mean, it's just crazy. Like it's a different language, and we're all talking about the same thing, just in a different language.
And before you were here, we had like 4 Puerto Ricans on the floor together. So it would have been even great to pull you in with those guys to really know what was going on. We almost have a whole Spanish-speaking team at that point.
Yeah, I heard about the Puerto Rican corner of the locker room where it was all 4 lockers and it was just Puerto Ricans in the corner. So
Luis and Ramon and Eddie and Omar. We're down to 2, I guess, if you count Gabe and
2,
Gabe and Pele.
Yeah.
So one quick thing, why IPFW? Why do you think, besides the degree, what about our culture that got you here?
Sure. Well, just obviously the Midwest culture I grew up in Midwest culture. Everybody's super nice here. I mean, just down to earth, great town, and obviously a lot of support for the athletics program. And I remember when I came here on my visit, I came one time against Penn State. It would have been 2015, I think it was, and it was just, the gym was just absolutely crazy. It was so loud and there were so many fans there, and it was just a really awesome experience for me to be a part of. So that was a huge draw for me.
Our volleyball community at IPFW and the Fort Wayne community has been very, very special for us. Our entire existence here, and Coach Ball was a big reason for that, and we thank him for that and what he's done in the Fort Wayne community. So thanks to Graydon Schroeder for being here. Up next, we'll visit with head coach Ryan Perrotte. We'll talk about our upcoming matches against McKendree and Ohio State to open the MIVA conference season. Thanks again to Graydon, and we'll see you back shortly.
I specialize in homelessness, drug use, and qualitative research methods. I mostly studied desistance from crime and deviance, so a lot of people have studied why people start committing crimes, and that's been an interesting topic and researched pretty well. But I've always wondered, when you want to change or you can change your life, how do you do that? So why and how people quit.
Welcome back to VolleyDons Weekly. With us, we have head coach Ryan Perrotte back again. A quick thank you to our sponsors, IAB Bank, Indiana Physical Therapy, Molten, ONE, and Pizza Hut. Thank you to all our amazing sponsors once again. Coach Rock, Graydon Schroeder's was here, and what a great kid he is, a phenomenal student, and has done a lot of really good things for our volleyball program in the 2 short seasons he's been here.
Well, two things. Number one is, as I rightfully predicted, that the Green Bay Packers will not win a Super Bowl in your lifetime. So I was
There's
right
a lot
about
of
that.
hopefully there's a lot of years left in my lifetime for them to do that. So I don't know what that means, but okay.
And number two is the fact
Knock on
that
wood.
Graydon is one of the great reasons why people get into the business of coaching.
I agree.
Because he is the ultimate team player. He is the ultimate student athlete. He is the pinnacle of why we do what it is that we do. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. Very talented young man, great family, very supportive. Graydon is just a tremendous young man, and his future looks really, really bright. The one thing I got to change is him being a Green Bay Packer fan, and I don't think that's ever going to happen.
His future is bright, both in an athletic sense and an academic sense. That guy is going to do phenomenal things once he graduates from IPFW and goes on to whatever career path he chooses. Somebody who's internally driven, never have to worry about how hard he's going to work. Has had some problems with his knees in the past and has really overcome that this year and looked really, really good physically against George Mason and NJIT. We're really, really happy to have him back, and he looked 100% this weekend. So hopefully we can continue to keep him at that level of producing both on the volleyball court and off. Just a really good kid.
Well, he's trained really well to keep his knees intact. Number two, I've managed him very well. I haven't over-abused him whatsoever, and so Graydon's going to continue to have a monster year for us.
Yeah, he's done very good things. So coming up this weekend, on Friday at 7 p.m., we have the McKendree Bearcats visiting Arnie Ball Court for our MIVA opener, and it's also the Blue Out match, I believe, correct?
That is correct.
So everybody wear your blue if you're coming to the match at 7 p.m. on Friday for a Blue Out. What do you have to say about McKendree? Just talk about that team really quick and what they can bring and how they can challenge us.
I think McKendree is the scariest team in the MIVA. I said it last summer. People thought I was crazy, but I think they're the scariest team. Last year they beat Ball State at Ball State in the MIVA quarterfinals.
And Ball State was undefeated through the first half of conference play to let you know how good Ball State was, and they beat that team.
They were amazing. They're young, they're hungry, and they have some tremendous athletes on that volleyball team. And it's close to the St. Louis area, so they recruit high-caliber kids. The team scares me. Their best player we did not see in Santa Barbara when we were up there watching other people play.
Yeah.
Or one of their best players, I should say, a middle blocker. I think he'll return this weekend.
He hasn't been back all season, so this should be his first match back.
Yeah, I mean, they're a very nice team. I mean, it all comes down, again, to the same thing. It's what we do. You know, can we serve and pass the ball? Can we play with the type of enthusiasm that we did it defensively and really work hard on that end to maintain our kind of edge? Can our offense continue to sizzle the way that it is? And if we can dominate the net like we did against George Mason, I think we beat McKendree. I really do.
Yeah, and serving and passing is such a big thing with their middles.
It's huge.
They're going to use their middle as much as they can. We're going to try to use our middle as much as we can. It's just going to kind of be a strength versus strength and see who can kind of emerge from that victorious. And then the Saturday match, we have the #1 team in the country coming into Arnie Ball Court. Yeah. We have the Ohio State Buckeyes. Like I said, #1 defending national champions. Just talk about what the challenges that Ohio State brings to us.
Well, I'm really not focused on Ohio State. I'm only focused on McKendree. Ohio State is by far the best team in the country. You know, they have everybody back except for one starter from a year ago. They've reloaded. Miles Johnson is their opposite. Nicolas Serzin, their outside, who's the MVP of the NCAA's a year ago. It's a tall order. In order to beat Ohio State, I think two things need to happen. I really do. You got to play junk ball against them. You got to become a little unorthodox. Yeah. And not just bring the heat all the time. And I think they're so used to that in their practices and their competition that if they little chinks here, little chinks there, I think you can kind of get them rattled a little bit. Yeah. And number two is you got to keep it close until the very end and hope that the moment gets to them, even though that's a tall order since they were national champions a year ago, that the moment would fold. But I think you got to sustain pressure and keep it close to where maybe they might get a hitting error or make some sort of unforced error down the stretch where you can capitalize and really take advantage.
They use a lot of the big attack coming out of the back row to Nicolas Serzin, and I think it's something that but not a lot of teams see the type of athlete he has. So just talk a little bit about him really quickly.
Well, he's a young Frenchman. He's only a junior. And he's scary because he's the best server in the country.
Yeah.
I've never seen a server like this in my life. You look at the scoreboard, all of a sudden he's back at the service line, he rattles off 8 in a row. He can bring the heat, he can serve it down the line, he can throw the slider and the changeup at you. Number 2 is the whole world knows he's getting the ball, and he still gets kills.
Yep.
I mean, he is that good. It's part of his DNA. He's grown up playing the game. He's a special player, obviously, to watch.
Just a really good player.
And,
Done a lot of good things.
and he's very humble. They're coached really well by Coach Hansen, who's been there many, many years. And it's a nice volleyball team, but the one thing is you can't be in awe of them.
Yeah, we got to go out and attack them. Got to go out and attack them, and that's something that we have to do a good job. We did that against Mason. Hopefully we continue that against Ohio State and McKendree this weekend. Yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Thanks to head coach Ryan Rock Perrotte for being here. Thanks to sophomore Graydon Schroeder for being here as well and getting us an insight into his world and his middle blocking world. So thank you all for being here with us. Until next time, get your serves in. See y'all soon.